Okay, September 17th, Saturday. I'm in an area about half a mile from satellite Wallow to the south, on a hilltop up above it. A crow was chattering and dragged me over here, and I'm suddenly seeing a bunch of pretty neat structures here. There's a teepee that goes way up. That's a real teepee. 3 of them crossed. Get that in the camera? I think it is. It's a really neat structure there. Here's an X right here. A little further. I'll walk through. There's numerous structures down the hill leading up this way. You can see that. Structure right through there. Here's some more right here. Another X right there. Usually when I see a bunch of stuff like this, it's there's some sort of shelter or a freestanding teepee nearby. That's what I'm looking for. This X structure is really neat. This one that my hand is on to the left here is pinned over an upright branch and under the one that goes straight up. Now it's got a crook right there, and could not pin this unless it was right at that position, whereas holding the long upright one up. And you see that crosses up there, held lightly by a branch, and then this structure comes over it, which is basically held up by the large one that's going up to my left, and then it comes down, and a number of branches or a number of trees have fallen over the base. I mean, this is neat. And then here, right here, is this great big teepee structure that goes way up in the air. Hard to tell how well that's coming through on the camera, but there's some really neat structures right here. This is kind of the entrance to the satellite Wallow from the northeast side. And look at this mass of huge trees that are over. Again, it's really difficult to tell how awesome this is due to the camera just not quite wide angle enough. There's some huge dude in here. That is the butt portion of that log stuck straight up in the air. Those two are not butt portions. But there was another big log with the butt portion up in the air. I just walked past. The thing that's kind of awesome about this is that you realize you might be the only person who's seen these things other than a Sasquatch since they were made. Now, how old are those? That's the big question I got. The chafing doesn't look real old. I mean, real new. You know, I would have to think those are at least 5-6 years old. That tangle of trees put up there. I don't know if that's a structure or what that is, but you know, it's what you find. There's so many lanes that things like this, and here's one, aspen's been broken off. I would imagine shaken and snapped up there. There's so many. I now photograph maybe 1 out of 100 that I come across. I'm looking for something unusual. This is the beginning of Rio's satellite wallow, and what I had no idea is how big it is. It stretches all across the top of this hill, and I've probably been walking through it for close to half a mile already, with structures, teepee structures everywhere. This shot may give some idea as to just how many leaning trees there are. In certain spots, it's just a jungle. You can't really see this maze of crisscross logs, checkerboard logs that are on the ground here because the angle I'm at. Now Rio, who I came out with one time, felt that these things are laid down by Sasquatches as traps. They chase game through them, and then the game has to either slow down or winds up breaking a leg, and they can catch them. I would guess that probably some is that, because these creatures, the way they make these structures with these logs and trees, are really ingenious. But I think a lot of it is just these old teepees that fall down. I mean, these things have obviously been here a long time. Now, these all appear fairly fresh, in that I don't think they've had the bark stripped off them in the last 6 months. But I would think in the last 5 years an awful lot of this has gone on here. But that's really hard to tell. Unless you see some fresh chafing or some fresh green bark, you really have no idea if this stuff's been here for 2 years or for 10 years. Stuff on the ground you can tell where it started to rot has been there for 10 years or so. And I do see some upright ones that occasionally are rotting. But it's really hard to say. Is this a place they were and they've moved out of, or are they still here? Who knows? But I'm absolutely convinced more than ever before. There's too much of these leaning trees all over the forest to just be territorial markers. They have to be feeding on the bark, whether it's the Cambrian layer of the bark or the insects within the bark, I can't tell you. And almost every instance, the leaning trees are aspens, and that's 95% of the time. And I would say just about 100% of the time, the trees with bark stripped off them are aspens. I've probably seen some, but haven't noticed them. There's something else. Now this is something else I've seen a lot. Flat little areas with a great big mass of sticks broken and appeared to be laid across. Now you could say, well, they're the branches off of a tree that fell down. Well, there's no tree right around here with all these branches where these would have come from. I tend to think that what they do is they break off a bunch of the stuff, lay it on the ground to sit on it, to keep out of the mud, particularly in the rainy, wet season. That seemed to make a lot of sense to me, because you don't find this all over the ground here. I mean, you find a smattering of sticks, but you don't find this mass of sticks like this. And they were put there, I'm convinced. I mean, in looking at them, they're laid the same way in general. You know, I think they were all laid there, and probably for a reason. It's the best reason I can come up with. Okay, something's been digging here. Probably for grubs and worms. Probably a bear. But not any bear scat in here. Usually, where there's bear scat, I haven't seen any footprints at all. Sasquatches. But that could have been dug out a long time ago too. I mentioned this in another video. Here's another one of these things I call Bigfoot highways. Just smaller than a log, but large branch, small tree laid across perpendicular along a trailway. Never on a main trail, always off of a main trail. And you know, I'm guessing they do this so that it's easier to travel in snow or in rain. Okay, I was here about 2 weeks ago. I took my anyway, I was here, left some stuff here. This is what Rio calls dry bark wallow, and this dead elk was not here before. And this is fresh. Not a mountain lion kill, because mountain lions bury them. Can't say about a bear. I know what I think it is. It is a collared elk, and it's still got the collar on it. So I think I'm going to go contact the Fish and Game and let them know where this is. I don't have a wrench, or I could undo it and take it with me. Maybe I'll come back here with a wrench and do that.